Today we are going to be talking about expectations versus reality in small business, in startup business, in business in general, and how different these two topics actually are at each different stage of the business. And even 10 years into the business now, expectations and reality are certainly still a trending topic with us. So it's one of the hardest things to figure out. It is one of the hardest things to kind of fine tune, especially as the way my mind works on everything's going to be good no matter what we do, we'll be fine. Then the reality of that is there are hiccups along the way. So this is definitely certainly a topic that I think a lot of people can learn from and should at least have in the back of their mind when they're talking about business or trying to grow a business. I sat down recently with a group of people and they were launching a tequila company, and I met them, was talking through a couple things, and they were trying to raise money from an investment standpoint, and they wanted $1 million right out of the gate, and they've never had any sales. They've never been, they're not in states yet, but we have handshake agreements from XYZ. And I kept telling them, like, hey guys, like, this is going to be a problem. Anybody that's going to give you money at this stage is just purely going to be taking a flag on you and hoping that it takes off. So looking at that, and it was funny because I sat back and as they were telling me and pitching me on all this stuff from an investment opportunity, I just sat back in my mind and I was thinking, oh man, I was there before the naivety to believe that. And I told him, I was like, hey, keep thinking what you are, keep shooting for the stars. But in my mind, in my heart of heart, it's like, no way, no chance.
Yeah, that's the hard part as an entrepreneur, especially when it's your business and you're close to it. You just get in this mindset of like, we're going to make this work and everything's going to work. And that's a superpower, but it's also, potential problem areas arise because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, but I think it's also okay because, again, you don't know what you don't know in the beginning, and you don't know anything in the beginning.
Yeah.
And like, that's fine, but experience plays a big role in a lot. And I think as you age in business and grow with experience, you're able to see things far differently. You're able to make maneuvers and moves differently based off of what you've experienced. But in the beginning, everything's an expectation on this is going to go this way, and I guarantee it.
Yeah. So for you, like after you committed to doing the clothing business, year one, year two, what did you expect to make money-wise? Like what did you think was going to happen?
I was convinced that I would be profitable year one. I was convinced that I would be able to cover my income year one. Within 6 months to a year, there was no way I couldn't do that. There's no way I couldn't make money. I thought for sure, would I make the money I was making in medical sales? No, but I was convinced I'd make over 6 figures the first year, which is hilarious because my W-2 from 2017 was $7,800, somewhere in that range. And then my W-2 for 2018 was about 18,000, I think, in that range.
Yeah.
And then 2019 was 24 or 26,000, sub 30 for sure. So the first year, 3 years combined, I didn't even get close to making 6 figures or replacing anywhere near the income that I made before. So yeah, it was a rude awakening for me right out of the gate.
Yeah. And that's when you're setting goals like that, like I'm going to be profitable year one. Technically, if the business makes $1, you're profitable. But if you need $100,000 to live, it might not feel that way. So watching those goals, making sure they're in alignment.
Yeah. So, just diving into money right out of the gate too. Like, how do you know, like from a standpoint of how much money to put into things, or what's your thought in general of, how much money do you actually want to put into things? How much should you go out and get? How much should you have saved? All of those things.
Yeah, the more, the merrier, really. Depends on the business, depends on what you're doing. Service industries are a little easier because you're not investing so much money as you are investing a lot of your time. Versus product businesses, you have to get the product, you have to get the inventory.
So give a couple of examples of more service industry related.
Yeah, so probably the easiest one out there is you want to be a real estate agent. So like now you have your own business, you go take the tests, you pay to take the test, get the license, you pay for like the lockbox software subscription, get some business cards, and you can go be an agent somewhere. pretty low overhead.
Right.
That would be an easy startup. A super expensive startup would be you're going to go manufacture chairs. So you need a building, you need the machines to do it, you need the metal to fabricate it, you need the employees trained to use the machines to do it, you need trucks for shipping, you need storage facilities. Like now it's a super expensive situation. You just want to make chairs or something.
Well, and then think about like for those specifically to total contrast from a difficulty from a startup, what you need standpoint. But there's a lot of businesses that you need more money than you realize as well, especially in today's day and age where digital targeted marketing is such a crucial part of getting your name and your business out there. And, I part owner in a marketing agency. And, even for us, when we started marketing for David Allen clothing, I think our budget was like $30 a day as a low end per platform on what you should put in to at least consume some data and know what's happening. Now we're spending, I don't know, around 15 to 18,000 bucks a month, roughly. I'm pretty sure, maybe more than that
Yeah, way more than that.
for
Probably
marketing for.
five grand a month.
Okay,
Easy.
with just the digital side.
Yeah.
And then, well, then we have streaming, we have billboards. So I think collectively we spent over $200,000 last year on marketing as a company, whatever the number was. But I'm now at a point where I look for, hey, can we put more money into marketing? And it was very hard for me in the beginning because marketing doesn't bring you money right out of the gate, especially when you need it.
Yes, that's one of those expectations versus reality on time. When and money, marketing is going to be expensive. Also, it's going to take a long time. How many, like, if you're watching an ad for something, do you go, oh, I just saw that ad, I'm going to go buy that thing? Or, oh, I just saw this ad, I'm going to go get that service. Like, it doesn't happen right away.
Yeah, and each time somebody sees that ad, you are paying for them to view that ad.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy how much that adds up. And, it's 7, 8, 9, 10 times of somebody from a consumer behavior standpoint of somebody actually interacting with your brand in some capacity for them to A, trust your brand, B, understand that, okay, this brand is consistent with the messaging that they're putting out. So not only does the quantity of eyeballs or times that your eyeballs need to be on something important, but each ad that you're creating needs to tell the same messaging, and it has to feel authentic from the brand. And Chris, who's partner with our marketing stuff here, he always says matching luggage. Matching luggage is everything. He beat that into my head from the very beginning of business was your website needs to match your ads need to match your social media has to match, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff has to be the same. And it's kind of funny. I travel a ton, so I look at my luggage when I'm traveling now, and I have one broken Toomey bag, and it's a little bit gray, and all my other luggage is black, and it drives me absolutely crazy. So for me, I'm hyper focused on that stuff. But him always talking about the matching luggage approach, it's true. It's a real thing, especially when you break it down to that dynamic. But things take far longer to happen and to be successful. And we also tell people, give yourself 90 to 100, 120 days before you actually do anything with that money that's spent from a marketing perspective.
Yeah. So from a timeline of just general success, you said you were going to be profitable year one. How long do you think the average person should expect before they are successful? And we'll define successful as being able to pay your bills and make a decent living.
So from my experience on what we've had, or are you talking about
If someone asks you now, what would you tell them?
3 to 5 years, go 5 years without paying yourself?
Yeah, I'd say you could do it in 3 to really get there.
But again, have a expectation that's more of reality is like it's going to be 3 to 5 years before you see ultimate success, or even before you start seeing the pendulum swing your way.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. And it depends on your personal needs. If you have a pretty low personal expenditure, you could probably be paying for that within a year or two.
Right.
But if you want to be making decent money, 6 figures, it'll probably take you at least 3 years.
My biggest suggestion to a lot of people when it comes to that is this, and the sooner you can get a grasp on your financial situation, don't go buy the more expensive car, buy the less expensive car. Don't go on, Uber Eats all the time and order 5 days a week. those are things that you could cut out. You trim far more than we spend far more than we realize on those things. And I don't even want to know how much I spend at this point on those, because I just, convenience is key. But in the beginning stages, I don't care if I lost everything and had to start over again. If I could pay my bills, if I could be able to afford food, to be able to go out periodically for dinners, and I was only making 40 grand a year, 35 grand a year, I would be happier living that life than when I was making a boatload of money in medical sales, because the passion for what I do. So that's a big thing too, that you have to really be passionate. And a lot of people don't talk about that. Um, a lot of people just try to, hey, I want to create something because I want to be an entrepreneur. It's like, no, you should probably have some form of grasp of like, you really like it or not, if you're going to do it, purely off the fact that you have to do it every day over and over again, especially when it sucks and things aren't going well. You can't not do it. It's a huge thing.
Yeah, it was probably 10 years ago, last time I worked for somebody else that wasn't myself. They wanted me to work 50 hours a week, and I thought it was so hard, and I didn't want to do it, and it was the worst. And now I'm working 70 hours a week, but for myself. And for some reason, that's just a huge difference, even though there's still hard times and difficulties and struggles that you wouldn't have at a normal job. It's just something about doing it for yourself.
Yeah, it's very fulfilling. Like, I think you're in control, even though you're working and you're not in control. You're really in control because you don't have somebody saying you have to be there, I guess, other than the client. So yeah, it's the big moral of this one though is find the passion in what you're doing as well, because that's going to help all these things that we've talked about. It's going to circle back for you from a business standpoint. It's going to make the difficult times be easier. It's going to make the enjoyable times even more enjoyable, purely because you're doing it for yourself. But again, it goes fast, and the money doesn't last as long as you think. And at the end of the day, it's taken us far longer for me to get to where I wanted to be than I ever imagined.
Yeah. So that's, if you're starting a business, some of the things people don't realize is kind of right out of the gate, you need insurance, you need some legal contracts, you're going to need books for accounting. If you have employees, you're going to need payroll. So even if you're not selling anything, all of a sudden you have expenses going out the door.
What would you do, like, from somebody reaches out to you, they're trying to start a business? I mean, how many times have we been in here where people are talking about, hey, I don't even have an accountant and things of that nature? Like that stuff's very important right out of the gate.
Yeah. So some people, you can try and do it yourself. And that's one of those, depending on how much time you have to invest or money you have to invest, you can get certain softwares. A lot of people use QuickBooks to keep your own books so you can have a general idea. Most of the time when I see people's books that are doing it themselves, there's a lot of errors and holes, but at least you have something to work off of. It's better than nothing. That's a good place to start. Risk management is something nobody really talks about to people starting their own business. So that's where your legal documents come into play and your insurance come into play. So if something happens, who's responsible, who's paying for it, what's covered. You don't want to be doing something on the weekends for fun that you're making a little bit of money on, and all of a sudden someone's suing you for a lot of money for some reason or other, and you don't have any insurance. So those are good things to check on.
I think focusing on that side of it, right? Early stages, I had to find accountant. I had to find an attorney. Early stages from a legal standpoint, I was just bartering with anybody who was an entry level attorney. I had one friend in particular who did a lot of work for me. He was working for a firm at the time, and he just did some stuff on the side. He charged me far less than it would have been going through his firm. So he was trying to kind of get up and running at the same time, while he was just doing it on the side for friends and family, making a couple extra dollars. So there are certainly different times in business where you utilizing the services of different people make the most sense. And then as you grow and as you get to the next phases, you need to level up and protect yourself based off of how much more of a target you potentially have from an IRS, from a legal battle standpoint, from a client standpoint. You don't have to be ultra buttoned up in the beginning is kind of what I'm getting at, but you still need to be buttoned up.
Yeah. And that comes back to how much money you have and how much time you have. If you want to research it and try and figure it out yourself because you have a lot of time, or if you have some capital and that's something you want to put into your startup costs that you have money to cover. As you move through business, you're going to change what you spend your time on versus what you spend your money on to focus on different things. And that's something I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, you had a goal to really focus more on managing your team and your businesses and getting really out of the weeds of doing it. How do you find what was the decision maker in your reason for wanting to do that at that point in time versus earlier versus waiting further?
I remember we went back and forth a ton on, hey, you need to sell more. Like
Early on, for sure.
early on, and then even up until like right after the pandemic, we've
Yeah,
talked about like,
that was
hey,
kind of a restart.
yeah, like 2022-ish time frame, which isn't long ago. There were times where, hey, you need to sell more this month. And then my mom was like, no, that's when Krista really started getting into her stride. And my goal was to build up her book of business with her. And excuse me. So a lot of it was me just, hey, to grow this as big as I possibly can, I can't do the day to day. So therefore, I was just saying, okay, I'm cool. I'm cool with losing money in my pocket to put money in someone else's pocket, which inherently would grow the business. And that was my thought process. The reason I wanted to get out of this stuff so early day to day was because I never wanted one shot. I never wanted to. I want to be an international business and an international brand. And now, so thinking big right out of the gate was, I think, a very important thing because it set the tone on what type of business was this going to be.
And the expectation versus reality, you wanted to get out of it right away. It took you 7 to 8 years to actually do it.
Because I kept getting
It takes a long time. Yeah.
time and time after again, especially when, when you're volatile, hey, we don't know how much money we're going to make this month. And then you have a really good month. And then all of a sudden, okay, start passing stuff off to Krista. And then, oh, we had a really shitty month. Okay, I can't give that to Krista. I need to take that so I could survive. And then I get back into the weeds and I start doing more fittings and bouncing around with that stuff. So it was really a push and pull thing for a long time.
And that's a good reality check is the business trajectory, whatever is good or bad, flat, it's not linear. You're going to have good months, you're going to have bad months, you might have good years, bad years. It's hard. How do you get through those bad periods and keep the positivity that like this? Because I'm pretty pessimistic. So right away, I'm like, oh, this is going downhill quick.
Well, yeah, we talk about that every month. I feel like business is over every month.
Not just for you, me personally, especially for my business.
This is where you just have to love what you do, and you just have to genuinely be enjoy the process of whatever that is. If you have a passion for business and you just love business, cool. You should be able to make a lot of things work. For me, I just love clothing. I love what it can do for somebody. I love the appeal of it. I love the fact that I get to meet all kinds of walks of life from every profession, every industry, every side of the aisle, every personality. And you realize how special human beings are. It's just really cool to become friends with so many people through clothing. And I always tell people, like, the coolest thing about this job is not the success or the growth or the money or the people that we work with. It's being able to provide a product, which I also consider a service that we offer to somebody that could change their life. A wedding, a meeting, going out on a date, just going into public to get a first impression from someone. That stuff fuels me and I know our team as well, because we talk about it all the time. It fuels us to want to continue to be better and to how do we get better at the experience as a whole that we provide people. And I think that's allowed me to fall in love with building a clothing brand. Again, all those reasons, but it's so special when somebody thanks you after and says, hey, this made me feel XYZ and I never thought I'd feel that way again. So I speak so passionately about it. That's the stuff that kept me going. I remember early on, we had this one client and early client. We don't talk anymore, which is fine. And but I could never figure out how to make the suits fit him properly. Had an odd shape in a good way, but it was just difficult. I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but I would meet him every Sunday night at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. It was an hour away from my house. So it didn't matter if it was July and it was 85 degrees and sunny and beautiful at the end of the day. And, oh, hey, 8 o'clock's coming. I got to start getting ready to go deliver a suit to this person's house, knowing it wasn't going to fit and knowing that I was just going to have to figure it out. All the way to, hey, it's negative 10 degrees. It's February. I have to drive an hour in the snow to go to this person's house because that's the only time they can meet. And that taught me so much in the beginning of like, if I didn't love what I did even early on and tried to figure it out, I don't know if I would have been able to continue doing it. So it's kind of crazy the passion that has to come with a lot of this in my opinion, with a lot of these things.
So that's what gets you through those days where you just have that imposter syndrome where you're just like, why would anybody
Yeah.
want to work with me?
Yeah. It's because there are times where, like, I guess the other side of it is then you meet with everybody else that you're working with, and the majority of things go really, really well.
Yeah.
But I'm also a problem solver, and I don't like anybody not being happy. Whether you spend $180 on a dress shirt or you spend $50,000 to $100,000 a year with us on your wardrobe throughout the year, each person is equally important because I want everybody to feel the same way, and I want everybody to have the best experience that I know we can provide. And that's so, so important from that. And I think that just comes down to why we're successful is because we just genuinely care. Having a client experience a bad experience with us is by far the most uncomfortable, worst feeling in the entire world.
I hate that.
And there are times where I can't sleep for days. And it just in the back of my mind, this isn't happening or that's not happening. And it drives me absolutely crazy, because I figured stuff out and I like problem solving. And when you can't, it's tough,
Yeah.
especially at the early stages when you don't know anything.
Yeah, I agree. That sort of relationship currency is, I think, one of the key areas that can make or break, especially service businesses, that you're not just selling to nobody online, because those are the people that really help build your business, the building blocks that you can grow off of. How do you balance that versus you're also a business and just need to make money, just get through the day?
I think the earlier that you tell yourself you're in business to make money is better. Going back on things, I mean, I would never, there's nothing I've ever done that I would do differently, just straight up. Now, giving advice to somebody else, I would tell that person, don't give discounts. I'd say everything's full price. And that's just the way you should operate because you are in business to make money. It's that simple. As long as you provide a good product or a good service to somebody. So from that standpoint, I just think it's like, no, like there's a cost to these things. These things need to stay true, or you're just never going to make it, or you're going to make your journey harder to get there, and unnecessarily harder because had I not done those things early on, we probably would have had a different trajectory potentially. But we're here, we're where we are. I'm happy with that. So it worked out.
Yeah,
It's hard.
yeah, it's hard.
So hard. It's the hardest thing it's by far the hardest thing I've ever experienced in my life. And you're going through it with growing your business, finding good people, finding good help, finding reliable this, reliable that product, people, service. And especially in the world where we live, where it's an instant gratification world and everybody expects to be paid top tier without putting in top tier efforts. And it honestly drives me crazy because if you came on board and you put the time in, your life would change and you'd live a pretty damn good life, but everybody wants it now, which is bizarre.
Yeah, that's whether you're starting a business or starting a new career or a new job or something, things do take time. It takes time for you to get comfortable and good and up to speed with what you're doing, whether it's as an employee or as owning a business. Not looking for that instant gratification and kind of hanging in there, building a model that can make it to 3, 4, 5 years is a good expectation to have rather than year one, I'm going to be profitable and things are going to be good.
Yeah. As the businesses scale, as businesses continue to grow, I think a big thing that we had to work on was delegation, and getting help from our own team and other people that are involved with the business, and the importance of that too. And as a business owner who wears multiple hats in the beginning stages, especially then, when's the right time to delegate? When's the right time to do different things? And that's something that even 10 years in, we still balance. We're at a different stage now, and I'm oftentimes like, I need to pass stuff off, but I'm like, they're already doing something, so I don't want to ask them to do it, or I don't want to expect them to do it. But in theory, they should, and they could, and they could help me. And then it would allow me to be better at what I'm doing, which in turn brings money back to the business, back to the clients, back to the team, and so forth. That's a hard part as well.
I really struggle with delegation, that giving people things to do that I know I can just handle.
Yeah.
That's super, super hard. Having a process has helped, but even that really just showed me how poor my process was when I was trying to step by step give it to somebody else to do. It was like, oh, this is just nonsense in my head that I just plow through because I've done it so often. But building out a process step by step that makes sense to someone that's never done it before is is like a good trick to help with delegation, I think.
So that is when I realized everything started changing for me, was when I could delegate and things actually got done, and they got done to the level that I would have gotten them done. And, that's the beauty in the team that we have now, is we have a handful of people helping one another. Now, it took them a long, long time to get there through tons and tons of employees to get to, and even subcontractors in the early stages. One time we had 8 to 10 people working for us all over the country in different states. And I thought that was the path to go. And, at that point we were writing stuff down on notepads instead of using computer software, because I didn't know anything and I didn't have anything. But once I started saying, like, hey, make a conscious effort to stop doing things and make a conscious effort to pass those on to other people, that's when I really started seeing growth happen. And it happened very quickly after that, which was pretty wild to see take place, purely by saying, can I do these? Yes. It's no longer worth my time to do these, even working with clients. My job, or my goal to make this brand as successful as possible, is to network, is to open locations. It's to find better product, continue making our product better, finding better partners to work with, looking at different locations. That the day-to-day for me being here to measure is just not the best usage of the time at this stage, because I know that we've trained our team to do what we believe is the David Allen way. And that took years to really fine tune and decide and dictate how that would look.
Yeah. Process is huge.
It's crazy.
And that especially, process is hard. So that's one of those, just start doing it. Try and start writing down the steps. And the first draft you have is going to be pretty garbage. You're going to have to well, at least for me, it was reorganize what step goes where, all these missing pieces. When someone else reads it and they're like, I don't even know what that means. Like, oh, well, that one step for me is actually 6 detailed steps to make sense of it.
Right.
So,
well, we just put together within the last 12 months, our employee handbook for DA. Like, we have a 25 or 27 page handbook. What does it look like to be a stylist at DA? What are the expectations? Education on our fabric we work with, construction process, timelines, and we now pass that to new hires who come on board, and they're expected to know that as soon as day one. They need to know just about everything in there in order to be successful here. And that was a process that we waited and waited to add. And ever since we've added that, it's allowed us to hire better people and build the right team.
yeah, I would say an expectation a lot of people have is that they can just do everything and hit the ground running. The reality is there's so much to do all the time, and it's always changing, that you're going to have to prioritize, and some things just aren't going to get done. So you have to sort of pick which things aren't going to get done.
Yeah, it goes, you get spread super thin.
Yeah.
And I think, kind of piggybacking off of that list of things that need to get done, I remember early on, I would keep lists. I had tablets that I would kind of keep, hey, this is my guideline for the day. I'd stay in tune with that. Well, I would have a top 10 things that need to be done today. And then by the end of the day, that list may have shifted, where the back 5, the last 5 of the 10 or the 20, whatever the number was, a couple of them could have shifted into the top 5 that needed to be done, or every couple months that list could shift. So it's definitely good to be aware of all the things that you have, and having your system. Everybody's system is going to be different. Just like all of our team here, all of our stylists sell differently. They style differently, but they all style with the core of who we are as a brand, which is the most important thing. But if you could take control and really keep an eye on those things and have certain tasks and realize, hey, these ones don't need done until now or till later, or this is a nice to do, but it's not a needed to do right now situation. And as we get to different stages, we're always changing that list around. There's countless things. I've been trying to add custom polos and unique things that I did those 10 years ago. And we had a really great manufacturing partner back then, but we were trying to learn how to sell suits. So as actually last night, I sent them an email. Hey, I'm ready to get back in and start doing some design work with them. So we have a really cool product that we're going to be launching it hopefully by the summertime. That's more of a cool casual type vibe for us. From a custom standpoint, you have a little bit more options on casual wear, but I tried it 10 years ago. It wasn't ready, kept it on the back burner, and 10 years later, here we are, and we're ready to launch that. So we'll add that to your list of headaches for do too, because I didn't tell you that yet. But
Good to know.
yeah, I mean, that's the beauty in it is it's an constantly evolving list of things to be successful as you continue to grow. Um, Big thing that I want to talk about with everybody too is protecting your equity in your brand. There were times where I've had to almost, where I've had discussions of giving up equity, and I didn't give up equity until 2025,
Yep.
essentially with our expansion. So, with Stan, Krista, Derek, they're now involved in the expansion, and each location they have an opportunity to buy in, to show the commitment. But buying in versus giving equity is a whole different scenario. We had a situation years ago where we were going to launch a custom, excuse me, not a custom, but a yoga line with a pretty prominent celebrity, and we could have crushed it. It would have went really, really well. But it was one of those things where she did not want to put money in. She wanted to use her fame from an equity standpoint, which would have worked if she would have been committed to the actual product. Without somebody putting in money in, it's pretty easy for them to say, oh shit, I'm just going to put this on the back burner and not really care. And thankfully, the attorneys that were involved on her end kind of hijacked everything and really ruined the entire experience. And her and I actually don't speak anymore from all that. But by them getting in the way, it allowed us to walk away from something that would have been a nightmare, walk away from something that we would have put all the money in. She would have never put the money in, and the business probably would have went belly up because there's no commitment. So if you are talking equity and you are talking about partners, my recommendation is you always make somebody put money in. If people put money in, they have to do something with that money, and they have to protect that money. They'll be more cognizant of actually paying attention and helping versus, hey, I'm going to just earn this. And I know you and I've gone back and forth for years over that.
Yeah, you got to, especially early on, if you got early on in the business, you don't really know what the long-term value of the brand or the product or service is. You could have hit a gold mine that's worth millions and you're going to give it away for nothing or even sell it for a pretty low value. So early on, you extra want to be careful. Once you're more established, it's easier to see, here's how much money the business is making every year. Here's the trajectory that it's been on, where it could be going. It's easier to value or more realistic to value.
And people fail quicker at that stage too. Your expectations as an entrepreneur, business owner, your expectations, because you've seen success, if you've gotten to that point of success, you know what it takes. So it's far easier to see bullshit in that stage than it is to not. So that partner or that person that says, hey, I'm interested in doing this. Okay, cool. Show me. Prove it to me. Like, it's
we
not
worked
just
together.
a handshake.
We worked together for 10 years before we
Right.
partnered together. So
And I made the decision of like, okay, you do things that I just never am going to do. I also just like you, so I want you to be involved. You've helped me from a coaching standpoint on the numbers to understand where we are, to get to the level where we are. And I don't want to do this alone. So if I could take care of people along the way, I want to give that opportunity for that. And that's just kind of always been my mindset with those things. But equity is crucial. Equity is so crucial.
yeah, and the non-financial side of the equity is now you have partners in your business. So it's a relationship with them. It's how do they handle money? How do they handle leadership issues? How do they make decisions? The more partners you get, the more you need to really know each other about what's cool for you to just go do without running it by them and just letting them know later, and what's not, and what are they going to get upset about. So,
And we always talk about like, I'm always wanting to give away. And I fight that battle every day because I just want to take care of as many people as I can. But there's also nothing wrong with just paying somebody for their services, paying somebody for what they do. And also, like, don't get it twisted from a standpoint of like, they're paid to do this and they're getting paid a decent amount of money to do this. They don't need anything more than that.
so you're talking about employees that you want to give
They're
potentially
employees or
other people you work with.
yeah, other people down the road or whatever it may be. I mean, I've had so many scenarios cross my path where I want everybody to be wealthy. I want everybody but I also been through shit and I've been through hell to get here. And it's a catch-22.
Yeah, I talk with business owners that are looking to bring in partners from time to time that are employees, and a lot of times the employees don't realize what it means. They just see, oh, you own your own business, it's super cool, you make more money, whatever. They don't see that like, oh, we're not going to make payroll this month, so someone has to put money into the company. Or, oh, someone wrecked one of the vehicles, it's way more than the insurance is going to cover. Now we're personally liable or something like that. And just the time it takes
Yeah.
to be a business owner.
Yeah, it's far more consuming than realizing. Even now, like, I got a family, life's different, but I'm on my phone all day, every day. It doesn't matter. And we've talked before. There are situations where we run into with people we are trying to do business with, and response times aren't there.
Yeah. Or they're, oh, we're not working now, or we
Yeah, at the end of the year leading up, we were trying to get our Closets by David Allen going, and we had a couple of people that we were working with from a vendor standpoint, and you get an out of office and they don't respond for 4 or 5 days, and in my mind, I'm like, just answer the email now, give me the information now.
yeah.
I need this now so we can get rolling. And I get it, holidays are important and people have family lives and stuff, but if you're a business owner, there's no time off, it's just in my opinion, it's unacceptable.
Yeah, until you build the team that can handle that stuff for you. But then you need a process to be able to facilitate you taking that time off, not just like, oh, I'm gone. It should be, you're out of office, should be, I'm out, talk to so and so, and they will handle the situation because you have a good team or process or whatever. But a lot of people don't do it that way. That life balance
Yeah.
people want.
I'm just very big on get shit done. I don't care what it takes, get it done.
Yeah, I think that's one of the tricks. Some people I talk to are trying to work 40 hours a week and just have work-life balance, and they're wondering why they're not growing, or wondering why they're not growing as quickly. That's one of the differences between a lot of companies that scale quickly, whether it's startup to a few $1,000,000 or you're going from a few $1,000,000 to tens of millions of dollars. It's a tremendous amount of time put into the business. One of my clients was using a coach for a scaling up program. He had scaled a business from 10 million to, I think it was 100 million in 3 years. He said he slept at the office a lot of the time during that period of time. And it's one of those, that's just what it takes regardless of the level. So that's a bigger level than a startup. It just, the more time you put into it, you figure if you're working a 70-hour week and everybody else working a 35-hour week, you're working twice as much as them in a year. If it takes 3 to 5 years to become successful, you might be able to do it in a year and a half to 2.5 years because you're just spending the same amount of time.
And that's also the difference where all of those scenarios are okay.
Yeah, it doesn't.
That's the biggest thing.
I have a client that recently was like about to sell his business, and because it was too stressful, it was too hard. And I was like, you don't have to try and grow it. You can just chill. Your goal can be more free time.
Maintain.
And he shifted how he was looking at things, and instead of growing, he's just maintaining, making enough money to live, super happy, lives in the country now, like moved, happy spending time with his family. And that's good. He has a successful business. That's successful too. It doesn't always need to be growth.
And so that is why alignment of who you do business with is so important. Even now, Dr. Mannon is doing the primary care doctor stuff for us, for me, concierge wise. And the convenience of that, like that you operate how you need to in your own life. And that's the importance of this stuff is there's no right or wrong. I just know that anybody that's in my life needs to operate the way that I operate from a mentality standpoint. I'm 40 years old. I got another 30 years of doing this, 20 years of doing this, whatever the number is. I need people that are going to operate within that rules the same way that I do. And there are going to be partnerships and relationships that don't work because of that. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that person. Nothing wrong with the way that I look at it or we look at it. All of these things are okay when it comes to family vacations, when it comes to just family time in general, spending money personally, all those things. It's your life. You're allowed to do what you want. Everything is okay. I do it a certain way, and I need to only be around people that do it the similar way that I do.
Yeah, nothing personal to people that do things differently. That's a good point for aligning, because you're going to expect certain things from those people, and if they align with you, you're going to get those things, and if they don't, you're going to have problems. So it's better to get it out of the way up front. That was one of the factors in choosing some of the people we're working with for the closet business, is just, if we're emailing or texting on the weekend, are you responding? Are you guys willing to work with us? Or are you just doing your own thing that doesn't align with what we're doing? Then we're just not going to go that direction.
If I don't hear from you within 24 hours, I'm pretty frustrated. And that's just how pending certain situations and certain things, I have a threshold of I need responses and I need them now.
Well, and the reason for that, problems arise and you need to fix them quickly, especially when you're new and building something by doing it. if you have to wait 6 days for someone to respond to you to get a response, so then you can ask them a second question, and then you have to wait a few more days, and then you get to this resolution. So it's been like 2 weeks. That's way too long of a time period to solve a problem that you're actively working on.
And to put that into context, where the proof is in the pudding, before I got into the custom suits, I had the product, the proper knot, which were interchangeable necktie knots. I hired a lady to make them for me because I didn't know how to sew. I didn't know anything about a sewing machine or what to do or what fabric was and whatnot. And Chris actually designed a website for us back then, launched the website, and I would say, hey, so-and-so, I need 10 of these things made. And she was working at a 9 to 5, so I knew there was just side work for her. And cool, 3-4 weeks later, I would get a text message, hey, these are done. You could come pick them up now. I just said to myself, I'm never going to build a business that way. So I went out, bought a sewing machine, went to Joe and Fabrics, taught myself how to sew, went through that whole process. So then when an order would come in, I would immediately go to the sewing machine and I would hand sew something and get it out the door as soon as I possibly could. And that's the big differentiator on how big you can go, how fast you can go, and where you could take things. So wrapping up here too, on this episode, talking about expectations and reality, I think the biggest one, which is one of the hardest pills to swallow, is support that you get from friends and family. And there's nothing wrong with it. You know, I could speak freely about my family. We had a little bit of turmoil from a standpoint early on. I was in a bad relationship at the time, so that didn't help. I lost my job, and every time I would see my dad, he would ask me, hey, did you get your resume ready? Did you get your resume ready? And I'm like, Dad, I'm not. I just drained my 401. I just drained my IRA. I'm letting this roll. I'll get a new job in 2-3 years. Friends, I'd see friends get married, and I'd see friends wearing new suits, and they weren't from me. And it was like, these are my close friends. What are we doing here? But then the friends wanted discounts off you when strangers didn't ask for discounts. So there's a lot of that stuff that plays into it. And the closest people to you tend to look at you a little differently as you operate. But at the end of the day, my close friends now have come through business, people I've met, clients, business partners, and so on, but people that share like-minded things. And again, it goes back to that. There's nothing wrong with the way family and friends operated at the time. It is what it is.
Yeah, I have pretty supportive family and friends. I think from a financial standpoint, they can only be your customer once or twice. You can't expect to build a business off of that. So
which is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So awesome. Another good episode. Keep focus on expectations and reality if you're building something. These are all super, super crucial things. Again, the purpose of this is just to educate our experiences to you guys. It's not, hey, this isn't the only way to do it. There's other ways to build something. There's other ways to go about living your life. These are just primarily stories that we've encountered, things that we've personally experienced, and things that we like to do business the way we do it and what we consider to be successful. You may say, hey, I like my time doing this on the weekends, and cool, no big deal. That's for you, and that's okay. Everybody does things a little bit differently, but again, solid episode. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll talk to you here again on the next episode.